Alec Berg is what the producer or executive
EP,
producer of
yeah.
Silicon Valley. Now, he's also the producer of Barry, which had its first season wrap up last night. And we kind of talked about Barry after the first episode and said it's excellent. That we really enjoyed it. I'm wondering if you felt like it kind of carried it throughout the season, because we kind of talked about this is a hard needle to thread. Hitman turning into an actor, supposed to be a comedy. It's kind of a difficult plane to land, and did it land?
I think it definitely landed. And
Yep.
when we talked about the premiere, what would we say? Like, oh, it's he's good at being Hitman, but he wants to be an actor, and he's bad at being an actor, right? That's already a great premise
Yep.
with all the talent involved, right? So we're like, all right, cool, we're in, and it's effective and it's well written. What I did not expect was that the show is going to be like more about like morality and
Mm-hmm.
slowly convince the viewer over the course of 8 episodes that the main protagonist that you're supposed to like, in this case Bill Hader's Barry, perhaps really isn't a good person. He starts off just convincing himself that he's doing bad things, obviously killing people, but he's killing bad people so he can rationalize it and internalize it, and so he can be okay with it. And then the last 2 episodes, I think, are just this amazing 1-2 punch. And it fucks the penultimate episode really fucks Barry up because he killed an innocent person. And then the
His only
finale,
friend.
right? And then the finale ends with him killing another innocent person. And I thought the finale was very effective because it had that fake out where, like, oh, it seems like we've had a happy resolution. Oh wait, there's 12 minutes left. I have to be on my toes again.
Yeah, and I think that speaks to the writing and just the creativity with this show, because throughout the season they use those flash forwards or those daydreams that you don't know if they're flash forwards, but those daydreams as like a way for Barry to escape and to kind of show like what he's really striving for, and what he's looking for in life. And then when they flash forward to that scene at Gene's cabin on the lake, you're like, oh, this has to be like just a flash forward in Barry's mind. And then when it turns out not to be, and the way that actually turns into something that makes him kind of face who he is as a person, which, if you want to read more about like that concept and the performances that they're doing, not only like on stage, but in their real lives on this show, Miles Surrey's article on The Ringer, I really recommend it. Yeah, it's just really great filmmaking to kind of juxtapose those two things together and kind of smash them together to make you face like, what's this person all about that you're rooting for. Hader is just unbelievable in this show. Like, not only in the penultimate episode, that scene where he's talking with Chris, his friend, and he realizes he has to kill him, like the way that he plays that with like the like, why'd you have to say that, and then like freaking out. But then everything after that, and then also his face when Gene kind of gives him up in the last episode. Like, just the look in his eyes, like, so perfect. I could see him getting a nomination for this for sure.
Oh, I think he definitely get a nomination. Just, I mean, on the surface, Veep is not going to be nominated this year. Final season isn't coming out till next year, so I think he's actually got a great opportunity to at least be nominated. Perhaps he'll lose to the Atlanta guys, one of them, but yeah, I definitely think it's really well deserved. What did you think of Sarah Goldberg's character, Sally, throughout the season? I saw some criticism saying that people thought her character was just too selfish and she didn't have like enough of an arc. And I don't know if that makes sense to me, just because her character is a struggling actress that's inherently going to be a selfish character. I mean, did you get that vibe?
I feel like a lot of people on this show are selfish. Like, I feel like most of the people that you're rooting for are selfish in a lot of ways. You think about like Fuchs. He was incredibly selfish, like basically manipulating Barry to do what he wants him to do, not really thinking about how it affects him. Perhaps the only like non-selfish person was one of my favorites, NoHo Hank. That dude was hilarious. Shout out Anthony Kerrigan. Sarah Goldberg, I thought it was a great performance. I didn't really like her character, but I think I'm probably not supposed to really like her character. I did feel for her in the episode when like her agent propositions her, and just like I thought that the way that she played that was excellent. But yeah, she's a very shallow person whose biggest fear is not becoming a star. It's not, not making it as an actor, not being a good actor. It's not being a star. And it's kind of hard for me to I don't know, feel for somebody like that. What was your feeling on it?
I think that's fair.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, I think by the end of the season, the most likable people are who the Chet like NoHo Hank, a Chechen gangster. Like,
Yep.
I guess Gene. I got Gene's more or less like a good innocent guy. Didn't really do much wrong.
Yeah.
I guess Gene's the best character in that regard. But interesting, interesting way to think about who's the most likable on the
Yeah.
show, because it's
Definitely.
as it progresses, you realize oh, these people aren't that great.
I can't forget what nationality the other gangster was, but the guy that was supposedly like really like
The
cutthroat and bad.
Bolivian.
Yeah, the Bolivian. And then he's like the nicest guy ever. He's like, oh, why didn't you just tell me? We could have talked this out, but now we can't. Now you know how this has to go down. I was like, yeah.
Yeah, and they were making jokes about the Bolivians being short. And then you look it up, they actually have the shortest average height of any country in the world. It's like 5 feet.
That's, but it kind of just shows like this show is just very smart. One thing I wanted to ask you. So Alan Sepinwall in his review talked about how this finale and kind of the way that like the running theme throughout the last episode was, I'm going to be different starting now, was like how it kind of kept going. He, Alan Sepinwall said this almost felt like a serious finale, like the way it kind of ended.
Mm-hmm.
And he's a little bit concerned about where the show goes from here. Alec Berg, we mentioned, is an EP for Silicon Valley. And that's one of the big critiques of Silicon Valley is that the story arc always seems to be the same. It starts off, they have a great idea, something inevitably goes wrong, and then they fix it at the very last second. Same thing happened last night. Where do you think a show like Barry goes from here?
Yeah, that's an interesting question too, because I mean he dumped Fuchs at the airport, but you have to imagine Stephen Root will be back for season 2.
Mm-hmm.
So what's gonna happen? Is he just gonna like relapse and start being a hitman again? Are they gonna like reset the show in that regard? I mean, and then killing the cop, I forgot her name.
Janice. Yeah, Janice.
I mean, that takes away a big aspect of Gene's character.
Mm-hmm.
And that was also the whole, legal angle to the show. So and they also, I mean, they killed Goron. That's fine. They have the Bolivian guy and NoHo Hang. That's fine. But like, it just seemed like it would be a big reset to start up a whole new season.
Mm-hmm.
Would they keep the acting class aspect of the show, which was a big part of it? I don't know.
Yeah, especially with, I mean, they're out in a cabin on the lake where it doesn't seem like there's a lot of other people around. When Janice inevitably ends up dead, there's obviously going to be some suspicion around, the people who were there and what was going on. They're probably going to be pointing fingers at each other. I think more than anything, I just hope that it doesn't become this whole thing about Barry constantly trying to be someone different and then being pulled back to this life, because I can see that very quickly becoming just frustrating to watch. Maybe one season being dedicated to it, I understand, but and that's kind of the overall thing of the show is he's this one person or has been this one way and he wants to be different or hopes to be different.
Right.
But I think more than anything, the show, the heart of it is kind of coming to reality with who you are and accepting that and making sense of it. And I'm sure Hader and Bergen, if they enlist Hiro Murai to do some more directing and maybe consulting on the show, will come up with a great direction for it. I mean, all brilliant people, but definitely some things to maybe be concerned about or thinking about moving forward. I also hope that this isn't a show that goes on for like multiple seasons. I think this is probably like a 3, maybe 4 season show.
Yeah, definitely.